put her foot in it.
The race 2 had me hollering.
She's Dutch. They're built different. I'm telling you, these Dutch drivers are built different.
It's not the plane, it's the pilot.
That's right.
Can't tell her shit.
Can't tell her nothing.
I don't know what a flag means.
You can't be wasting Susie Wolff's time.
No, these are precious resources.
Who's the top dog?
God, just taking people out left and right.
I don't know the rules.
And she wants to be a movement.
And we're live. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Why You're Yelling. Welcome back to another episode. Today we are talking about F1 Academy.
Woo-hoo!
We are finally doing our deep dive into the sport.
Yes, we're not liars. We were like, by we, I mean mostly me blabbing at the end of episodes going, we're going to have F1 Academy stuff come out. And then it didn't come out during the very long break we had. But guess what? It's going to come out before the race in Montreal. So we're not total liars. So what we wanted to do basically is make an episode where we're actually talking about like what F1 Academy is. We always do these like race teasers at the beginning of our race or our weekend recaps for F1 Academy, but that's not really diving into the history of it, why it was created, how it functions, and how it also functions outside of race weekends. And so we wanted to just highlight that a little bit, and that's what we are going to try and accomplish today. So what we're covering is what F1 Academy is, why it was created, how it has evolved, what it has achieved, and what it still needs to improve upon.
What is F1 Academy? You might ask.
You might.
One might be asking themselves.
One might infer and wonder.
If they had stumbled upon this video.
Yes.
What is F1 Academy? Well, it is an all-female junior single-seater racing series owned by Formula One, is created by Formula One. It uses Formula 4 style single-seater cars. They're a little bit different than the Formula 4 cars that are used currently, but they're very incredibly similar.
Yeah.
It's designed for young women to develop their racecraft. It sits below categories like F3 and F2. So if you're like looking at a ladder and F1 is at the very top of the ladder, F1 Academy is like the second step on the ladder. And the first step is just like karting.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
The first step on the first rung on the ladder is karting. The second step would be like an F1 Academy or like your more local F4 type racing series. It's sort of that level.
Yeah.
And when they do race, when they have their race weekends, it runs on certain Formula One weekends. So they kind of have the benefit of you've already got a bunch of people there at the track on the weekend. They've got cameras set up for broadcast. Like they've got, it makes it easier for them to do stuff as a race weekend when they and it just naturally makes sense.
Exactly, yeah.
To do stuff on the F1 weekends.
Yeah.
And then we also have F1 teams that support like the liveries or like a single livery for a car on a team in F1 Academy. So you might have like 3 cars on one of the teams in F1 Academy, and one of them is supported by like McLaren, or one of them is like by Ford Red Bull.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so think of F1 Academy as just a junior racing series, and it's to help specifically young female drivers just get experience in the car and on track. It's to help them develop and grow, not just in their technical skill, but in their ability to just be like a personality, to do interviews, media, social media, branding, personal branding, like sponsorships and dealing with that kind of stuff. So it's just all around to help develop them in all facets of what it means to be a modern motorsport athlete.
I was like, she's good. I like it. Yeah, I mean, people got to remember it's an academy. It's not supposed to be like the final step, and then this is where and the next step is Formula One. No, it's an academy. So much of this is just giving them building blocks and a pathway to their future motorsport career. But that is what it is, and it's bare bones. We are not going to be covering how a race weekend works right now. Everything that's involved in it. We do it at the top of every single F1 Academy race recap that we do. If you all want a dedicated episode where we talk about that, where we take 10, 15 minutes and really that's always just there for you to have reference, let us know. We can do that. But for the sake of time, and we're going to move on. So one of the biggest questions is, why does F1 Academy need to exist at all? So the reason it was created is because motorsport has had a major participation and progression gap when it comes to women, like across the board. And so F1 Academy is trying to address the many issues as to why.
And I will say that the goal of F1 Academy, and I think so many people have a misconception or misperception about it. The goal of F1 Academy is not just to get a female driver into F1. That is not its goal. The goal of F1 Academy is to get thousands and tens of thousands of women into motorsport at all levels and in all facets.
Yeah. I think the overarching goal I think the dream, I think the dream and the goal are two different things. Like you said, I think the goal, that's what the goal is. I think if you were to ask Susie, would the dream be you have a Dorian Pond, for instance, who seems very promising, Abby Pulling, we'll talk about them in a minute. Would love to see them eventually be a Formula One driver. That's like the dream. But I would think that right now the goal is just to get girls involved in general.
Yeah. I think that it's a great thing to reach for, to have a female driver in Formula One.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to reach for and to build toward. And I think it would be symbolic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But if that is the only thing that F1 Academy achieves of any significance, then it's failed in its mission and in its goal. Because if we only have, a single female driver in F1, but we don't have more parity across motorsport in general, where we have more female representation and females participating, then F1 Academy hasn't really achieved that goal that it set out to do.
Yeah. I agree.
Again, I like the framing of F1 seat is a dream, but the actual goal is just the spreading and of having more women in motorsport in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about sort of the barriers to entry when it comes to motorsport for women in particular, one of the biggest things is funding.
Yeah.
So motorsport is expensive at every level. Like if you see kids out karting and their parents are with them at a kart track and they're competing, this is not just like a hobby. This is not just something they do for fun, unless they're like ridiculously wealthy and they're just like, sure, I'll take my kid out karting and let them have that. Like it is so expensive, and because you're paying for not just like, if you look at karting, for example, you're not just paying for the cart. You're paying for all the tires, the fuel. If you have to travel to compete, you're paying for hotel accommodations, for food, for all this stuff, right? Fuel for the travel, in addition to fuel for the race. So it's just really expensive. And the higher up you go on that ladder in motorsport, the more expensive it becomes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially too, if you just go to like K1 Speed is like somewhere in America that will go karting or whatever.
Yeah, it's indoor track.
There's an indoor one. There's an outdoor one in California that was really, really cool that we went to. But my point is like that in itself is expensive. When you have people that are doing karting seasons, they travel so much, and that expense is like it grows and grows and grows. So like it's not one race in itself just to attend is so much money, but like when they're doing seasons of it, it becomes a huge amount of money.
Yeah, and it's not just the actual races that they're paying to compete in. It's the practice that they have to do to get good. You're paying for coaches. You reach a certain level, you need coaches to help you keep progressing. Like your parents, depending on who they are, can only take you so far. If you have like a mom or dad who's experienced with racing, they can only take you so far before you need someone else to step in to take you further.
Exactly.
I mean, you're paying for, the testing, the coaching, time in the car. Like it's just, all of it just keeps compounding and adding up. And so that's where, again, if you or your family are, independently wealthy, you can maybe fund it yourself. But the way you really want to go about it is to get a sponsor. And to get multiple sponsors, ideally, and bringing in sponsors is the way that most motorsport works in terms of funding. Is they get to slap their big old logo right on the nose of your car, on your hat, on your team kit, and it's advertising for them, and they get to help you, fund your motorsport dreams. But female drivers have historically had a harder time getting like longer term sponsorship deals and longer term backing, which can make it harder to stay in the sport long enough to develop to the point where you could reach like an F3 or an F2.
Exactly. There's a lot of, I forgot who was talking, it was probably Susie, like talking about how so many girls, they'll start off at the go-kart track and then you just don't see them long-term stay because it's like there's not getting that same funding that a lot of the boys get. Something else that has hindered female in motorsport is visibility. You know, fans can't support drivers they never get to see. Before F1 Academy became more visible, a lot of people, the only way they even knew a female driver existed is if they were already paying close attention to like junior karting careers, because some people really enjoy that. But that's essentially the only way you even knew if there were any females out and about in the single-seater area.
Like worth paying attention to.
Yeah. Or, you know, if you maybe your local F4, but again, it's not easily accessible and it's not like in your face obvious. And so F1 Academy gives drivers a bigger platform, and they make it easier for us and teams and sponsors to follow them. That's another thing too. I mean, visibility isn't just about the fans. It's like, if I can't see you, sponsors can't see you, teams can't see you, people have no idea you exist.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people maybe don't pay attention to or fully comprehend how important the visibility aspect is when it comes to being a motorsport athlete. Like, and it's not some like surface level, what's the word? Like ego. It's not that at all. Literally, it's all about branding, marketing, and funding.
Yeah.
The more visible you are, the more people that you have, the more eyeballs you have on you, the more of an audience you have, the bigger reach you have, which is very attractive to potential sponsors who want to advertise and put their branding on you and support you.
Yeah.
So like it all just is intertwined.
Yeah.
And it's so critical that these, you know, young female drivers, these girls, these women get eyeballs on them.
Yeah. And I think too, I can hear people already saying what makes females need visibility more than men. And I think part of what is frustrating for women, and I this is my opinion, is sometimes it feels like as a woman, in order to stand out, you have to be almost ridiculously good.
Exceptional.
You can't just be like, a girl can't just be good as the average like karting boy at the track. She has to be exceptionally better than him to like deserve the visibility, versus if she's just in the top 10 of like people who are karting, that's somehow not good enough. And I think that's like where that issue lies. Is there's this expectation if like women are going to be in this male-dominated field, she has to be exceptional at it, and
just like prove over and over that she deserves to be there among the guys. When it's like, why do I have to be exceptional to keep furthering my career and keep learning when boys and men don't have to do that?
Exactly.
They can just be mediocre and keep going.
Yeah, and I think that in itself is very discouraging. And so I think F1 Academy really provides a place for females to not feel discouraged of like, you know, if I'm finishing in the top 5, top 10, like that is an achievement. And it versus like, oh, she's just, I don't know. I feel like some of that gets super convoluted, but that's where I can hear the argument of like, well, why do they need more visibility? I think it's just because they have to, how it stood before F1 Academy, they had to fight so hard just to be seen at all.
So another barrier to entry for females in motorsport is the opportunity to develop as a driver. Development, it just matters. It's like obviously it's like, there's only so much you can do like in a simulator or, you know, virtually racing or, you know, in practice, like in terms of like you can visualize, but like there's certain things you just have to do and you have to fail at doing and learn from the failure and repeat, like wash, rinse, repeat.
And yeah, that's the biggest thing is you have to be allowed to fail at it to get better at it. And it, once again, I feel like it comes back to if you have a girl in a male-dominated thing and she fails, there's all this discouragement that she shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Like, see, she's not good enough.
Versus like, well, she just let her try again and let her get better. And so it's one of those things that you don't really want to think that's how things are, but unfortunately, like it is.
Yeah.
Like it is how things are.
It's one of those things where men are automatically given they're given the free pass when it comes to failure in terms of like, oh, he'll just get back up and try again. Like, and it's framed as like, that's a very positive thing where it's like, you know, as a man, when you fall down, it's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back up after every single time you get knocked down. And it's like the default perspective, and it's not seen as an inherently negative thing to fail because you are automatically given the opportunity to try again. Versus it feels like when you're a woman or, you know, a girl trying to compete at the same level or in the same sport, you have to earn the right to fail. Yeah. You have to be, like you said, so exceptionally good, better than everyone else. Again and again and again, you have to earn the right to fail before you're given the, like, okay, you're given like the benefit of the doubt if you do fail once. And then like, you can never take for granted as a woman that you will get the opportunity to try again. That's the frustrating part about it is like, you cannot take for granted that you will have the opportunity to try again if you fail. Men have that opportunity, and I think they do take it for granted.
Yeah,
and again,
they don't even know, they don't even see it framed that way because they've never had to see it, and that's not like really no.
This isn't against men.
Yeah, it's not like, I'm not trying to say inherently they are like taking advantage, not appreciative of it, but they just don't realize it because their society doesn't treat them that way,
and they've never had to experience that. Like it just isn't their lived experience. It's not their day-to-day life, and the things that like they only know what they have experienced.
Yeah,
and so I know it can be hard to hear from an opposing, or like not even opposing, a differing perspective on that.
Well, yeah, especially if you don't think you're guilty of it. So, and again, this all goes back to the fact that it hinders their development, because if they fail or they're not immediately good, they get discouraged, their sponsors get discouraged, and unless they have this larger than life personality that's also bringing in the dollars for the sponsorships, you know, there's a lot of added pressure to be overtly exceptional to the point that you might not even be able to develop mentally as you need to as a driver because you're constantly having to think, this is my only shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I mean, just females in that regard, when it comes to development, there's so many things that just hinder them.
Yeah. And so we're F1 Academy, you know, one of the things it helps with when it comes to female drivers in the development aspect is that it gives them more time in a professional racing environment. It gives them a full season, even though it is only 7 rounds.
But they're doing multiple races.
Yeah, but they do multiple races in each round.
Yeah.
So, you know, they do get a full season in professional racing environment, working with a professional racing team. They get more starts, more qualifying sessions, more wheel-to-wheel racing, you know, competing against other drivers, not just putting in like, you know, there's one thing to practice on a track by yourself.
Yeah.
But it's a different thing entirely when you're competing against other drivers wheel to wheel. It's the same thing as like, if you want to look at like other sports and the way that they practice, there's any coach will tell you there's a difference between reps and practice versus real-time game scenarios and reps and like time on the field in a game.
For sure.
So, I mean, it's different. The pressure's different. The way that you react to things is different. So like that, you know, it gives them that wheel-to-wheel racing experience. You know, they're under pressure in those scenarios. And like we said, it gives them opportunity to make mistakes.
Without the pressure of, if I make the mistake, I'm done.
Yeah.
I think that's like F1 Academy provides an environment it's adding the pressure that you would want to be added and eliminating the pressure of, I have to be perfect at this right now. Like, it's like relieving a pressure, but also adding a pressure. One of the things that also was hindering females is, I mean, the pathway for them to take, there's like no structure for them. And we kind of delved into it a little bit with each of these bullets, but F1 Academy gives Formula One a more organized way to support women in the sport as well. You know, Formula One, they've done, I don't know that they sponsored the W Series, but they're always, especially the past like maybe 10 years, been looking for ways to support women. F1 Academy gives them that opportunity as a direct way to support them.
Which, for those who don't know, the W Series was a previous version of F1 Academy. Similar concept of like an all-women racing series, but it only existed for like 3 years, I think. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. I think there might have been a version of it before, then it came back. Yeah. I think there's been different versions of a similar series
the concept has always been there. It's just they couldn't quite figure it out in terms of like operationally and funding and its actual like role within the current motorsport landscape of how should it actually function and what should its purpose be and what should it do, other than we want more women racing cars and we want an all-women racing series. It's like F1 Academy goes beyond that.
Yes. So instead of female drivers having to fight for attention on the edges of the ladder, this series really highlights them and it puts them directly in front of the F1 audience. And so the goal is to give drivers a clear place to develop and a more realistic chance for a next step. And one of the smartest things, in my opinion, that F1 did when they were deciding who is going to run this, who is going to run F1 Academy, Susie Wolff is who they appointed. And she is both of our idols. We love her.
She's an icon. She is who I want to be and who I aspire to be when I grow up. And I'm full grown. I'm an adult.
I'm full grown.
But Susie Wolff is who I aspire to be. Like she just exudes everything about being a professional, like, woman. Like, in terms of she's got the hair, she's got the look. Like, and I mean, all this stuff, it sounds surface level, but it does matter. I mean, she looks the part. She acts the part in terms of, like, the way she presents herself is very competent and knowledgeable and but also kind and approachable. Like, I feel like I could walk up to Susie Wolff and just have a conversation with her, and I would just, like, she would just be so, like, nice to me.
I know. She just
very approachable, but like, she, again, like, she also doesn't take any BS.
No.
Like, she will put you in your place. She will call you out on your mistakes. She doesn't accept subpar. Like, she's like, no, you're here to do a job and you need to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, ma'am.
I love her.
Love her.
So we wanted to kind of go over why Susie was the absolute perfect choice to handle F1 Academy. Susie understood the problem from her own personal experience. She came through the racing ladder herself, raced in DTM, and later became a Williams F1 development / test driver. Which we were going to talk about Dorian Pond in a little bit, but just to note, until Dorian did that test drive in Lewis Hamilton's, I believe it was his 2021 Mercedes, which happened this year, so 2026, the last woman in an F1 car was Susie Wolff for Williams, which was a while ago.
Yeah, and it was for a test drive.
Yeah, so she was like a test development driver. And so that's how long it's been, you know, since that's even happened. And it's so poetic to think that the champion of F1 Academy from 2025 that Susie Wolff is a part of, you know, she's running this series, like, that champion went and drove an F1 car.
That was in 2014.
Yeah. So, like, over a decade ago.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so 11 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like Susie just has so much experience because she has experience with the sport, being an actual racing driver, but also experiencing what it's like to be a woman. But also she was successful at it as well when there weren't clear pathways. And so
she got to the point of one of very few women to ever be in an F1 car. And she, not just like to be hired to be there as like a face, like, she actually got in the car and drove it in a testing session. Like, you have to be competent in order for them to put you in that position.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, you go, Susie Wolff.
No, and I love her.
Yeah. So she also brought leadership experience from Formula E, where she worked with Venturi Racing as a team principal and later the CEO. So
I didn't know that. But when I was looking more into her, I didn't even know that.
Not only does Susie have the, you know, perspective and experience of being an actual driver, she's got the managerial experience of being a team principal and a CEO of a, like, racing team. And that's just, like, she just has so many like, she checks every single box you would want.
Literally. For
someone to lead the Formula 1 Academy, or Formula 1 Academy.
It feels like that.
F1 Academy. And before F1 Academy, she had already launched Dare to Be Different, which was an initiative focused on supporting girls and women in motorsport. So, like, again, not only she's got the racing experience, she's got the managerial and team principal experience, but she also, and just because of the fact that she's a woman, like, if we're going to have anyone lead an all-female racing series, it needs to be a woman.
Yes.
Like, there's not a world in which I would be, like, accept easily a man leading that.
And most of it is, it's not because, like, their intentions wouldn't be in the right place. It's because they don't have that same shared life experience. Exactly. And so it's like with Susie, even if you just have a woman who's like, I want to make motorsport more accessible for other women, which is a great goal to have. But if you don't understand the barriers from experience, it's difficult for you to know how to climb over that or know how to open the doors if you've never even been presented the door in the first place.
And it's one thing to be told something. It's another thing to experience it yourself. Like, someone can tell you fire is hot, don't touch it when you're a child. But until you're a little baby reaching for the fire and then you get burned, you don't really know, like, they can tell you don't touch it, it's gonna hurt. You don't really know until you touch it, and you have to experience that pain, and then you're like, okay, we're not gonna do that no more.
So if you haven't touched fire,
you
gotta touch it, or you don't know if it's hot.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our analogies always make sense. So all of that, so that combination made her more than a symbolic choice. She brought racing experience, F1 experience, leadership experience, and personal understanding of what young female drivers actually need to move forward within motorsport. And so, I mean, Susie Wolff is just, she's an icon, she's a legend. And it's so nice to see somebody so passionate about something, but also be realistic about it. And we're going to talk about how F1 Academy has evolved in just a second. And I feel like she's had such a clear vision from the start. Yes. And you could attribute all of F1 Academy's success so far just to her.
And I like the point you made about her vision, because I feel like so far every move that they've made and every change that they've made since starting, because they have done 3 full seasons of Formula.
I know.
They have done 3 full seasons of F1 Academy. This is their 4th season this year. And every change they've made, every move they've made, every partnership and sponsorship deal that they've made just makes so much sense. And it's so like she gets it, right? Every decision that she's made makes so much sense. It's so intuitive. It's so someone who just gets it and knows what they're doing, because not any old CEO off the street trying to run even if they have motorsport experience, like leading a series or a team or whatever, not everyone would have the genius to think like F1 Academy needs to partner with Hello Kitty as a sponsor.
Which you would think that it would be obvious.
To us,
to girls, we were like, yes.
When we found that out, we're like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. It's genius. And some people, men, might not get it and be like, Hello Kitty, that feels very like childish and girly. But like, that's the point.
Because we don't have to like,
we're not catering to men.
Yeah, it's
and
like
their expectation.
We don't
and experience.
have to be a part of the sport in a masculine way.
Yes.
Like, just because it is dominated by men does not mean that we have to squeeze out every ounce of like feminine energy out of us and we have to present all masculine. And I think like that the fact that Susie's not doing that, it's more attractive to the female audience. And that's really what the biggest, I feel like so many things fail because we can't rely on just the men who watch Formula One to go support F1 Academy. It's got to be the girls. Like, we've seen such a growth in Formula One with female viewership. Like, that needs to translate to F1 Academy. And that's like what I think her with these partnerships is like, that's why it's smart. It's not for trying, like, no, we're girls. Let us like Hello Kitty.
Let us be girls in this and exist as girls and women in the space as we are. Come as you are. Like, as you are. Yes. Sorry. And I just, things like with the Hello Kitty partnership, even and they spun that partnership and it was more marketed as a way to get younger girls interested in motorsport.
Which is so smart.
So true, because that's a long-term investment in the future of your series and of your sport. Because the younger you get them hooked, the longer fan you have for life. If you can get them started and hooked when they're 4 or 5 years old versus when they're, 20 years old, you're missing, 15 years of the opportunity to get them invested in the sport where they're going to spend money on merch and other products and to spend money on tickets to races. Like, there's just so much you can do. And why wouldn't you want to get fans invested as young as possible?
Exactly.
So, we want to see Hello Kitty in a race car because not only is it fun and cute and adorable and the girls get to be like, yeah, I get to race cars like the boys too. But it's also a way of of girls seeing that it is possible for them to still be girly and pink and like Hello Kitty. But yeah, I can race a car too. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it is a little bit more of like the symbolic, aspect to it, but it's more than that.
But it's also just fun.
It's just fun.
It's fun.
Why can't we be fun and girly?
Let me just say, if anyone from F1 Academy ever happens to view this, I want that bomber jacket. Both of us, we want that bomber jacket.
Hello Kitty F1 Academy bomber jacket is so cute.
It's so effing cute. I want it so bad. And it's like $300. And I'm like, oh, honey. But anyway.
But yeah, even partnerships outside of Hello Kitty, F1 Academy did the partnership with Lego, which F1 had already had a partnership with Lego where they were putting out the models to build the cars and stuff like that. But F1 Academy did a partnership with Lego too. And I even said, because they put out like an F1 Academy model car that you can build with Legos. I even said Lego should be sponsoring a livery. They should be sponsoring one of the cars in F1 Academy. And lo and behold.
And they did.
They did.
They did.
So I'm psychic.
Yeah.
That's the important part of that story.
It is.
But yeah, but to see the vision for what those partnerships mean and can accomplish, I think that Susie Wolff, again, it just attests to not just anyone can see that and execute it too. So yeah, she's perfect choice to lead F1 Academy.
100%. So now we are going to talk about how has F1 Academy evolved. And so we're going to go through the first 3 seasons-ish and talk about it. So let's talk about 2023, the launch. So the first season, it looked pretty different. We had 5 teams, 7 race weekends, 3 races per weekend, 15 drivers, and limited live coverage there was actually only 1 round that was broadcast, and it was the Austin season finale. And they only did that because they were supporting the USGP in Austin. And I actually don't think that they were always racing with F1. I think that was another issue, was that they were able to do it that particular time because they were actually going to be there anyway, and they were trying to promote Austin more. So there was just a lack of visibility, really. And so the first season gave F1 Academy a foundation, but it also exposed a lot of the major issues because the series wants real visibility. Fans have to be able to see it. You know, you can't say we need to support female drivers and make them seen, but then no one can watch it.
There's only so far you can get when the only real coverage you're doing is highlight clips and reels like on social media. And then you're posting like the race results.
Yeah.
There's only so far you're going to get with that stuff. And I mean, you know, there's no knock on that because when I first got into Formula One, that's how I started following it. The first like year or 2 that I was following Formula One, it was only through Instagram, through reels and updates. And I kind of loosely keep up with what was going on. And it wasn't until you were like, we should watch a race. Like watch the whole broadcast for the race that like, that's when I'm like hook, line and sinker. I was like, I'm in.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. I was just kind of like casually keeping up with, but now I'm like, oh no, once I started watching the broadcast, I was in.
Yeah.
And so it's so critical to have that component. And then when they don't in the first year that they're in existence, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And I'm sure even at that point, Susie had her vision, but yeah, I mean, it provided like the bare bones to what like she was laying down for the future.
And you do have to, you know, you have to have a starting point, and it can't be perfect. Because if you wait for every single thing to be perfect before you start, you'll never start.
And I think one of the reasons when I was reading that all this happened was because the W Series really kind of fell apart last minute due to finances. And so F1 Academy was sort of put together fairly quickly. So I don't think they got to talk to the tracks how they'd want to figure out when could this be another supporting series, how F2 and F3 is. So I think some of the first season's failure and visibility was due to just kind of throwing it together as quickly as they could.
It was a scramble.
Yeah.
Moving into the second season of F1 Academy in 2024, this is what we're calling the F1 team era.
Yeah.
So what changed is that each F1 team stepped in to support one F1 Academy driver, or basically like their livery in their car for that season. And the reason that happened is because of, you'll never believe, Susie Wolff.
I know, shocker.
So Susie Wolff was there for the first season, and you know she was managing it as the manager and director of F1 Academy. She was there from the get-go, but like you said, scrambled, kind of last minute put together first season. And she immediately knew. And they talk about this in F1 The Academy, which is the series that's on Netflix. I highly encourage you all to go watch it if you haven't.
Love.
It gives a lot of insight into the sport and Susie and, you know, the way it was put together and the drivers and everything like that. But she talks about how, you know, she could see that the series would not be successful if they did not have the backing of the F1 teams in a more visible way, right? Because F1 Academy was created by F1 and it's owned by F1. But she's like, no, we need the teams to be more visibly active with our F1 Academy teams and drivers.
Yeah, because I mean, if you go look at F2 and F3, you're going to see a McLaren livery, you're going to see a Red Bull livery. So you turn on those series, it's easy to decide who do I want to watch. But yeah, with F1 Academy, that's not how the first season was. So in the second season, she was like, oh, that's got to happen.
Yeah, when you've got the liveries in the colors you're used to seeing, when you've got a Ferrari and you've got a McLaren and you've got a Mercedes and all, you know, an Alpine. If you're watching F1 and you already have a team you support, if you're going to F1 Academy, if you're trying to figure out what driver, what team, I don't know who to pick, who am I rooting for, that's the easy starting place. I already support McLaren in F1. I'm going to support the McLaren F1 Academy driver and see where it goes. And, you know, favorite driver might change at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like it does for all of us. You know, the driver lottery system is more like a you think you pick your driver, but your driver really picks you.
Yeah, they pick you.
But yeah, so it just became, you know, as soon as we get that injection of F1 visibility, more recognition of like those brands and stuff into the F1 Academy, you immediately see like more. We just get an uptick in involvement, in visibility, and we say that word a lot, but it's so important.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the series just became it became easier for casual F1 fans to recognize and decide that they like, okay, yeah, I'll watch it. And the races became also more closely tied to F1 race weekends in 2024, which you already mentioned. So that, you know, if F1 is already going to be there, similar to how they were already doing with F2 and F3, if F1 is already at a track for a race weekend, F2 and F3 we're like, we're here too. We'll be here that same weekend. And so F1 Academy adopted a similar format where they're like, okay, well, they can't race on the same weekends that F2 and F3 are already going to be there because that's just too much. It's just way too much. So, you know, they have to work around that schedule, but it kind of is a no-brainer. And I think some of these things that are no-brainers are the things that Susie Wolff is like, I don't know for a fact, but I just, in my head, in my version of events, Susie was like, okay, I've got a list of things.
This is what we're doing.
This is what we're doing to make an immediate impact on how to improve the sport.
Yeah, because I think 2024 was when, you know, they were doing all the live broadcasts. And you could, I think at the time they were doing it on YouTube and, you know, F1 TV, and they were doing the race weekends with F1. So, I mean, they completely shifted how they were like broadcasting it just within that year. So now we'll talk about how's it going right now. It's more visible, but we still got a little bit of growing to do. So it's easier for fans to watch and follow than it was when it first started. People feel more connected through Formula One because it's on race weekends and we have liveries that we see. There's a lot of team branding. There's a lot of the F1 Academy drivers are now kind of, they make like guest appearances on like, for instance, Dorian Pond would show up on like the Mercedes F1 Instagram page or a reel or something. So there's a lot more integration, especially in the F1 teams that are sponsoring a driver. If it's an F1 Academy weekend, they become like a part of their weekend more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So like anytime you have like an F1 backed F1 Academy driver achieving something in a race weekend, the F1 team is posting about it on their Instagram. Or like, you know, for a great example, like you said, Dorian Palm with Mercedes, she was backed by Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton was obviously he has been supportive of F1 Academy from the beginning. He's one of the few, he's really the only, which Susie Wolff said this, he's really the only F1 driver who was there like every single race that they had that he could make and was like supportive from the get-go and visibly supportive too.
Yeah.
And you know, Susie Wolff mentioned that and called it out a little bit that the other F1 drivers weren't as involved. And then guess what? Now we see more F1 drivers getting out there. But yeah, you know, anytime Dorian was winning races or podiums when she wins the championship, the Mercedes F1 page is posting about it and celebrating it because that's their driver.
Exactly. You have the F1 teams like treating them more like their driver versus just like this little thing that they support.
Yeah. It's like you're building a bigger sense of like a team, which I think actually a brand or a team that does this really well is McLaren. So you have McLaren and like McLaren Aero racing and stuff. So McLaren has obviously their two F1 drivers, but they also have teams in IndyCar, and there's another series that they do.
I'm not sure.
Is it Formula E? McLaren has another racing series that they do. There's 3 different ones they're involved in. And they like are very good about highlighting and shouting out each other when they achieve something. You know, even like Pato O'Ward, who is an Aero McLaren IndyCar driver.
Yeah.
Like on certain F1 weekends, he's there, visible in the paddock, doing media and stuff like that, like supporting just McLaren in general. Yeah. And so, you know, that carries over into like even F1 Academy when you have the main sort of like, it's like building a bigger umbrella of like the McLaren team or like the Mercedes team in different series, which I think is a great branding move.
Oh, it's super smart because now you're like you said, it just leads itself more into, oh, well, if I support this F1 team and now look how integrated their F1 Academy driver is within that team, like I'm going to want to support.
It builds a bridge.
Because if I see that team supporting her, especially active online, that makes me want to support her.
Oh, yeah.
And then it makes me want to pay attention and then go, oh, what's going to happen? Because it just makes you feel more involved because they're more involved.
Yeah. And it builds the bridge from, and it's such a smart branding move for the Mercedes because they're like, hey, if we have somebody who's already supporting our F1 drivers, we can build the bridge and connect them. And like, hey, we do have other racing series that Mercedes is in. Look at these drivers. Don't you want to support them too? Don't you want to buy their merchandise? Don't you want to follow them and get more eyes on them via social media? Don't you want to attend one of those races that might be more accessible and cheaper than like an F1 race? Like, it's just spreading it and building the bridge and converting existing fans just to a different series. And I know this got a little bit off topic, but I think it's just such a brilliant thing that more teams need to do.
Yes. Yeah. As of right now, all the teams still are. And then next year, because Cadillac just joined the F1 grid, they will be supporting an F1 Academy driver next year. And so
as of right now, all the F1 teams, excluding Cadillac, but all the pre-existing F1 teams supported starting last year, I believe.
And they started support in 2024.
In 2024, all the current F1 teams then had a driver that they backed in F1 Academy that has continued into 2025. And then this season it's continued as well. And then, like you said, Cadillac being the newest Formula One team, they're like, we need to get our feet under us first. But then starting next year, they have already said that they will back an F1 Academy driver, which I'm like, I love that Cadillac said from the jump, give us a season to get F1 under control and our feet wet in there. But like immediately in season 2 of their existence, they're like, we're backing the girls.
Exactly.
Love it.
So drivers are getting a lot more media attention, like we just said. And, it is still a young series that's figuring out how, like what long-term progression is going to look like. But even just within we're in our 4th season now, like, it's made so much progress in such a short amount of time that, I mean, it's going in the right direction, if nothing else.
One other thing I wanted to mention that I just thought about, when we're talking about the F1 drivers being more visibly supportive of F1 Academy and the series as a whole and their independent like team back drivers and stuff, one thing I actually really enjoyed seeing, and I'm sure it was set up so that they could just capture the moment for social media, but when George Russell sat down with Dorian Pond, they were at, I forget which track they were at.
I remember because we talked about this.
Yeah. So it was a weekend where F1 Academy was racing at the same track as F1, obviously. And so I think it was one that Dorian hadn't been to before, or she had limited experience driving. And so she, you can do simulator work and stuff, but basically
Vegas?
I don't remember which track it was, but she sat down with George Russell and they captured it on camera. And they were looking at onboard footage, I think his onboard footage. And he talked her through a lap around that circuit because she was like, he was giving her pointers and like, okay, so you're going to go around this curve and this corner and you might take it this way. And I take it I'm a little more aggressive here. Or, you might want to this is how I take this corner in this way because of these reasons. And you may want to try and do something similar. And I think that's such a wonderful moment. And again, I'm sure they set up that moment for social media to capture it, to be like, look, that's the cynical way of viewing it.
But even if they did, it still happened. And she still got the conversation.
Yeah, but you could look at it the cynical way of they set it up only to capture. It's like, look at George being so helpful to the girl. But even if that is the case, like you said, she still got the benefit of that educational moment.
Yeah.
Which F1 Academy so brilliantly is poised to set up a scenario exactly like that, which actually is so beneficial to a female driver. In what other scenario, in what other racing series are you in a junior level category going to get the opportunity to sit down with a current Formula One driver, you're driving the same exact track that they are, and get to pick their brain about how they go around a lap and try to set the perfect lap around this track? Like what other opportunity, like what other series gives them the opportunity to do that? None.
I mean,
That's the
unless you're an F2, F3, none. I mean, there's no other series like
it doesn't happen, or at least we aren't shown that often. And it may be because it's not. I don't know if those situations just aren't existing or they just aren't capturing them for camera because they don't see them as valuable as the scenario of, the F1 driver teaching the girl.
To be fair, F2 and F3, they have a lot more, by a lot more, I mean, significantly more experience than the F1 Academy girls. I mean, F1 and F1 Academy, you're only allowed to be a part of it for 2 years. Starting next year, certain girls will be allowed a third season. But I mean, you are dealing with very inexperienced drivers with F1 Academy. So, I mean, there's really no other racing series, like you said, I could think of where you're dealing with an academy with extremely non-experienced drivers compared to how experienced like the other racing series are that are getting to pick the most experienced drivers' brains. Like that's not happening anywhere else.
And one thing to keep in mind, I want to mention is that with F1 Academy, some of these drivers are as young as 16 years old. And several of them only have karting experience prior to getting into an F1 Academy car.
Some of them have it's nuts like across the board. And I was when we talk about the drivers or when we get into our team previews next episode, we'll see it's like a lot of them have karting, which is you'd think is similar to an open wheel, but it's actually a lot different than you think it is. Some of them have just like actual car experience, and driving a car is not the same as driving an open wheel car. So you have so many. Not every single girl in here is going into it with a bunch of open wheel experience, like when whatever their local F4 series was.
Yeah. So that's one thing to keep in mind, like the experience level that they have coming into this. Keeping in mind that that's sort of the level of experience as a frame of reference for a lot of these young female drivers coming in. But even if they do have some experience driving in other types of racing series or even in karting, you might get a coach or someone to kind of help you and give you pointers and teach you some things. But there's the coach you have and you're able to afford has a vastly different driving experience than the knowledge that they have could be great. But when was the last time they were driving an F1 car around a circuit that's currently on the F1 calendar? It blows my mind that Dorian got, this is like gold, the knowledge that she can get from, George Russell, that she got from him in that moment. He's a current Formula One driver in a current Formula One car, talking to him about the literal track that they are both racing on at the same time in the same year.
And not to mention, he was teammates with her idol, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And so you have all these layers to where it's like, who else is providing that? Like, nobody. F1 Academy is.
Yeah. So just like moments like that are like, I have no doubt that single sit down, which I mean, that could have been 10, 15 minutes of George's day where he's sitting there talking to her. I don't know how long it actually was, but that little amount of time is going to help her so much in not just, helped her that weekend, but just in the rest of her career and going forward. Like, that's just such a moment that that's one of those things that is almost a career defining moment. Yeah. And it took George Russell 10 to 15 minutes. It's just, and I feel like it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but it's like,
it's exciting.
It is. Okay. Sorry. Got off on a tangent.
You're fine.
Okay. So what has F1 Academy actually achieved so far? So we've talked about sort of its origins, where it is now, the problems it was trying to address initially, the problems it had initially. So what has it actually done? So in terms of visibility, again, our favorite word, more fans know drivers by name. Yeah. We can rattle off, I could say maybe a dozen. I could probably do a dozen. You could probably do like 20 easy. I could
at least do a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more fans know the drivers by name. And honestly, I think if everyone who watches F1 even knows one F1 Academy driver's name, even if they only know the most recent champion, Dorian Pon, or if they know Abby Pulling, that's already a step in the right direction, which is, have you ever seen those video clips where they're like, name a woman?
Me.
And then people are like, just name, and they're like, any woman, name a woman. And people are like, when they're asking the question to men, women, whoever, and they're like, name a woman. And they're like, what kind of woman? And it's like, I feel like that, where you're like an F1 fan and you're like, name a woman.
Susie Wolff. Got it.
Yeah. Name a woman in F1 or in motorsport.
My dumbass would immediately go, I'm not built for high pressure situations. I literally forgot everything
I've ever known in my life has just disappeared from my head.
Yes.
I am just empty.
Yeah, it's all gone. I don't know anything, actually.
I have turned into a potato.
Yep.
So we've got, more fans knowing drivers by name. Drivers are easier to follow throughout the F1 weekends, on broadcasts, through team branding, interviews, social media. Like they have just, again, not to make it sounds like it's so surface level, but it's so critical that they have a social media following. It's critical that they have a website that people can Google them.
That is a great website, by the way. I use it all the time. I love the F1 Academy website.
Yes.
It's great.
It's such a good resource.
It's such a good resource, and they put out so much content and like just and everything is it's nicely done. It's nicely packaged.
Yes.
Love.
Yeah. And even like the drivers having their own personal websites that you can find information about them or the current series they're racing
Ladies, y'all got to do a little bit better with some of these websites. I'm not going to call anybody out right now, but I'm just saying.
Some people either don't have one.
Which if your Instagram is really kept up to date, it's not the end of the world. But you should, I would think for branding purposes, you'd want a website. So if you want to send that, it's almost like a portfolio in that you get to go, here's where I started. Anyway, that's not what this is, but the point is have better websites.
Yes. If we're talking about, something that F1 Academy, we just did a section of what they can improve on. That is something I think if they could advise the girls on maybe better is about the personal websites and branding, because just a personal website for them for our purposes for research, some drivers were easier to find information than others and to verify what's what. Just think that would be better. But
I agree.
But yeah, so the social media aspect of it has gotten a lot better, just even from F1 Academy's own specific social media pages and the content that they're posting. The series has helped turn female junior drivers into recognizable names and not just like background stories and not just like, here's a girl.
Look, she won. Next.
Like,
exactly.
It's actually investing in and helping to build these female drivers into like, it's like the next step. It's like literally it's a stepping stone for building the next, like the future of motorsport.
Yeah.
I don't know how to phrase it, but you know what I mean? You get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, what else has F1 Academy actually achieved? We've got the opportunity aspect. So F1 Academy has created much more structured seats for women in junior single-seater racing. Drivers have more sponsor and team backing than they might have had on their own. We've talked about how critical funding is and money. You have to have it in order to advance in motorsport. And F1 Academy makes it easier for the drivers and teams to get funding and to be able to continue on doing the sport.
Exactly. And it all leads back to visibility at the end, man.
Yeah. So it doesn't, it doesn't erase the cost of motorsport. It's still expensive to do, but it does give drivers a stronger platform to build from.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then the development aspect of it as well. So drivers get more track time, race experience. They learn how to handle, all the stuff we've already mentioned about like just real world driving race scenarios. That's invaluable.
Yeah. Everything it wanted to address, it has addressed it essentially. Like all the issues where, when we talked about why does it have to be created at all, and we were talking about development, like so far F1 Academy has handled that. It's really addressed that issue where we have long race weekends, and then they also provide a lot of testing days outside of just race weekends, and so they've really given the girls that experience they otherwise really would be hard to get, especially in like a championship setting too. So creating that high pressure scenario
where it's competitive.
Yeah, exactly. So where you're competing with the best, like everyone, even though everyone might be on a little bit of a different level, everyone's at least on the same field right now. So yeah, it just creates a great area for them to actually develop.
Yeah, it's a great proving ground sort of opportunity for them where it's like, okay, let me see, as an individual driver, it's like, let me see what I can do compared to other people of a maybe similar level skill set. And let me just see what I can do and where I'm at. Because honestly, that's like an important aspect of developing as any sort of athlete.
Yeah.
Is I have to know where I rank among my peers and people of an equivalent like level of experience as me. I have to know where I rate amongst them in order to have a starting point to then improve.
Exactly.
So, this is a great opportunity for them. And, F1 Academy, again, it seems superficial to say, but it's really not. I can't stress how important the cultural impact is of F1 Academy as a series existing. You know, people can roll their eyes and say, oh, it's pandering to women, or oh, it's just a symbolic thing. And
but even if it is, why is that bad?
Exactly.
Like, why does it have to be this? It's pandering to women. So, yeah, you're right. It is. So what? Maybe F1, it'll make little girls go, I could do that.
Maybe instead of criticizing why women are so happy to see themselves represented, maybe just think about like why you've never felt that. Because you already are, as a man, you already are represented in motorsport.
Yeah, so
and you don't feel the absence of it.
Yeah, it's
and
not
so
a
you
milestone.
don't. Yeah, it's not a milestone. You don't get excited to see it because it already exists for you. If you've never had the opportunity to eat a filet mignon steak, and then you get the opportunity to eat one, which is one of like the best cuts of steak in the world, and it's perfectly cooked, you're so excited to get to eat that. But if all you've ever known is eating filet mignon, another filet mignon for dinner is like, whatever. You're not as excited about it.
Yeah, exactly, boys. Like, come on.
Yeah. So this is our filet mignon. Don't take it away.
No. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think that, and again, this is not a bashing men sort of moment. If it comes across that way, sorry about it.
Not trying to bash, more or less share the perspective that otherwise like you may not have been introduced to before. And if we sound slightly frustrated or finger pointing as we talk about it, it's just because when you as a woman are told, no, that's wrong, or no, that's this, when it's like, no offense, but how would you know? Like, I'm not going to act like I know. And I'm not trying to say we know the lived male experience, but it's just the facts are
the default.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, I kind of do to a degree know the lived male experience because it's the one that's shoved in our faces all the time. And it's the default. It's just what everyone assumes. And it's not your fault.
No.
We're just acknowledging it is what it is. And this is saying that something, like calling it out, which I don't even like that phrase.
It's more like we're just addressing
acknowledging
something.
it.
Yeah, we're just acknowledging an issue that we feel exists, and we're addressing it and taking care of it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all that it really is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the cultural impact of just having young girls being able to watch young drivers develop, and then they can follow those young drivers and follow their careers, or female racing fans can actually follow women drivers through their careers the same exact way that like people have been following Lewis Hamilton since he was in karting. We now get to do that with Dorian. We now get to do that with Chloe Chambers or Leah Block, who does rally. Like, there's so many. It just provides a way for us to be able to support and follow females at the start of their motorsport career that we otherwise didn't get the chance to. So we can have this emotional connection with them and support them. And that we as fans didn't even have that sort of aspect before. Like, I knew who Leah Block was because of her dad, Ken Block, who tragically passed away a few years ago and is like this rally icon, but I knew who Leah was because of him. And again, that goes back to knowing who she is because of her dad, who, is a man.
Yeah.
So it's
as opposed to knowing her just for her own personal achievements.
Yeah, which not saying it's wrong or anything, but my point is that
it just is.
I already knew who she was because of that, but then F1 Academy led me to being introduced to all these other drivers I didn't have knowledge of. And so just the cultural impact of us being able to support them and then getting to see that, it's important.
Yeah.
And it's
makes
exciting.
me feel good.
Yeah, it's exciting for us, and it should be framed that way versus why does it need to exist at all? Like, why does it bother you that it exists? Is the real
why can't we be excited about
if it does?
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't.
And maybe you don't care and you're like, whatever, or not that you don't care. Maybe it doesn't bother you, or maybe you're indifferent to it.
Yeah.
Which is fine, whatever.
Totally. That is totally fine. You don't have to fight a battle that ain't your battle.
Yeah. I mean, I think of it from the perspective of like, how if you have like a professional athlete that's like from your home country or from your town or your city or the state that, if you're in the United States, the state that you live in, or, if you're lucky enough to have one that literally is from like your neighborhood or your city, how like inspiring that is, that you're like, oh, someone from around here can work hard and have talent and then recognize that and then grow and achieve the things that this person has achieved to get to this level of being a professional athlete. Like, you feel a sense of like, you're
prideful.
Inspired, and you feel a sense of pride, and like, and you're excited and happy for them anytime they achieve anything, even if they're not like on the team that you normally support. Like, so we have one here, like locally, that I went to high school with, that he then became a professional football player in the NFL. And I don't support the team that he's on. That is not my team. But anytime he achieves anything, I'm so happy for him because it's like, the hometown pride, right?
Yeah.
And so think of it like that, but just in a different sort of perspective. So it's the same sort of like feeling. If you can imagine that, like it's the same sort of feeling of pride and excitement when we as women see other women achieving these great things and these milestones and just getting to exist as women in this space.
Exactly.
Like that's all we want.
Listen, you know how cool it was? We were setting up this set and then we were watching the F1 Academy stuff. This was a year ago now, 2 years ago, wherever it was. All of a sudden, my ass realizes that's our anthem because Chloe Chambers won. So not only is Chloe Chambers, who's adopted, she's an American citizen, but she's adopted, and she's a woman, and she won. Do you know we never, as Americans, ever fucking hear our anthem when it comes to F1? Just about, literally never on F1.
We only ever hear it at the start of a U.S. Grand Prix.
We're lucky. I personally haven't heard like an F2, F3 driver winning right now.
Yeah.
How I've been watching to hear the anthem. So the only time I've heard our anthem is when Chloe Chambers or an American has won F1 Academy. And to me, seeing a young woman, and then not only... It's like,
and I get to sing the words to our national anthem.
And I'm like, that made me emotional because I'm like, not only is she like a woman, she's American, but she's also this representation of the American dream being adopted, come and has provided this amazing life, living like this American dream through the family that adopted her. And it's like everything, it all compounds. So to say it's not important, it is important.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about we keep talking about pathways and creating spaces, but really one of the biggest questions is, so after F1 Academy, where do they go? Where do the drivers go after F1 Academy?
That's really the true marker of success for F1 Academy. Is it's all well and good to say this is what the women and the female drivers have achieved within F1 Academy. The true marker of its success and if it's achieving its mission, what are they doing after?
Exactly.
What's the next steps?
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk about a few of the women who have participated in F1 Academy and where they are right now. So we're going to talk about Abby Pulling and we're just going to go through these quickly. We're just going to kind of let you know briefly what they did in F1 Academy, if relevant, and really what they're doing now because we're trying to showcase, if it's working.
Yeah.
So Abby Pulling, she raced in 2023 and 2024 in F1 Academy, and she became the 2024 F1 Academy champion. So after becoming the F1 Academy champion, she earned a funded move to the GB3 series with Roden Motorsport, so it was fully funded by F1 Academy because she won the championship, where she scored a podium at Brands Hatch and helped Roden win the team championship. From my understanding as well, she was the first female to get a podium in a GB3 series.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, GB3 is...
it's Great Britain. Basically, it's a Formula 3 car, but it's not the international Formula 3 series.
Yeah.
So
it's a local racing series that's on the level of like F4, F3.
Yeah, it's like an in-between. GB3 is more similar to F3 cars.
It's like a half step between the two.
So it's like that's the step you would do before you join F3. So right now in 2026, she is still participating in the GB3 series with Roden Motorsport, while also serving as a Nissan Formula E rookie and simulator driver. So that's something there are a lot of the F1 Academy drivers who have partnered or they're having relationships with Formula E, which is interesting considering Susie Wolff's connection to Formula E. But yeah, so Abby Pulling's a great example of somebody who she won the championship. She got her fully funded ride and she's continuing on with it even afterwards.
Yeah, she, I will say, is one of the most, it seems, competitive drivers to come out of F1 Academy in terms of being on the same level as the like male counterparts at the same level.
Yeah, I agree.
She's got that racer mentality of, she's going to be a world champion one day, or she's going to like do everything she possibly can to achieve it.
Yeah, she's I wouldn't be surprised seeing her in Formula 3 in the next year or two.
Yeah.
So
follow her if you got to pick one if you got to pick one F1 Academy graduate to follow, she might be the one.
Pick Abby Pulling.
Yeah. And I did want to say too that you mentioned she is in the GB3 series, but she's also doing like rookie and simulator driving for Formula E. You will find, and this is the case not just for the F1 Academy graduates, but a lot of like lower level racing series, drivers do like double duty.
Yeah.
So they might pick 1 or 2 series that they do full time during the year, as long as they don't have conflicting race dates.
Yeah.
But then they will also be like a simulator or developmental or test driver for other teams and other series as well. So moving on to Dorian Pond. So in F1 Academy, she joined with Mercedes support in 2024, finished as the runner-up that year, and then became the F1 Academy champion in 2025. So she is our reigning F1 Academy champion. So after F1 Academy, she stepped into a Mercedes F1 development driver role, which is huge. So this is a case of F1 Academy like directly leading like a driver from F1 Academy into a role on an F1 team for a driver. That's huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And yeah, so she is in 2026, she is racing in the European Le Mans series with Duquesne team. Duquesne.
I'm not sure.
Forgive us for all these mispronunciations. We're struggling and we're trying our best.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's in the racing in the European Le Mans series, and she's serving as a WEC development driver for Peugeot Total Energies.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that either.
I don't either. So we have Maya Vogue. She raced with Ferrari backing in 2024 and 2025, and she finished 3rd in 2024, and she was the runner-up for the championship last year in 2025. She, after F1 Academy, she received it was funded by F1 Academy, a Ferrari 296 GT3 test with AF course. And right now, in 2026, she is racing in the Belcar Endurance Championship with ART Racing, where she secured a podium in her GT racing debut.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
Now we have Bianca Bustamante. Now, Bianca Bustamante might be one of the most visible, and we love visibility. She might be one of the most visible F1 Academy drivers to come from that series or come through that series.
Yeah.
Because and she is, like, that's kind of what.
If you were to go watch the F1 The Academy Netflix show, and we explore these different stories of how vastly different these girls' journeys are, Bianca pretty much represents how important a social media following and backing is. And that's probably why you've probably seen her before, because like the visibility she has is so much, and that's literally how she's been able to achieve her racing career, just based on the visibility and the partnerships, just because of how many fans she has. So many sponsors have just like stuck with her, and if she's lost one, someone else is right there. Yeah, and not to take away from what she's achieved, which I'll get to that in a second, but I think, and this is a point I wanted to bring up earlier, but I didn't know what my inroad was, but it's a perfect opportunity to talk about how if you are attractive, no matter if you're a man or a woman in a sport, if you're somewhat attractive, it helps a lot in terms of getting further in your career, specifically from a visibility, marketing, social media, following standpoint. It has nothing to do with how good you are at your sport, because there's a lot of people who are ugly, who are good at sports, but don't achieve the level of success that other people do. And it's shallow. It is just what it is. That's just the world that we live in, right? And so Bianca is beautiful. Yes.
Like, they're objectively.
Yes. Gorgeous.
Again, doesn't downplay at all her ability as a race car driver.
Yeah.
But part of the reason she has such a good following, and it's also her personality. She comes across very well on camera and, you know, in interviews and videos and stuff like that. But I mean, that's part of the reason she has had, you know, developed such a following, gotten sponsors and gotten long-term sponsors and people to stick around and continuing her career. I mean, it just is what it is. It's a natural part of it.
Yeah. She sort of was able to mesh influencer culture in with her racing. And I mean, and a lot of that was because she had to.
Yes.
So she could keep the financial backing she needed to participate.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, this is not downplay her racing ability at all. It's just a matter of fact.
And it was smart for her Super smart.
It's incredibly smart. Like, why wouldn't you? If that is a tool in your tool belt, if that is an asset that you have, why wouldn't you use it?
100%.
Especially, like you said, because she needed it. And it goes into that in the F1 The Academy, in that particular episode when they're talking about her and her journey. It goes into that about how she's like, I cannot afford to do this on my own. I have to have backing. I have to have sponsors to keep doing any sort of motorsport.
It is actually kind of a sad storyline because you should just go watch it.
Yeah.
Just go watch it.
Yeah. So when Bianca was in F1 Academy, she raced in the early years of the series and became one of its most recognizable personalities through her fan base and the McLaren connection. So she was backed by McLaren.
Yeah.
After F1 Academy, she moved into GB3 and continued building mixed grid single-seater experience while also gaining Formula E development and testing experience. So now in 2026, she is racing in Euro Cup 3 with Palau Motorsport. I think that's how you say it. Palau Motorsport, keeping her on a junior single-seater path toward higher categories. So she is also an example of, some drivers will go off into other motorsport racing, like other types of motorsport, but she's an example of one that she's like, no, I want to do single-seater.
Yeah.
Because I believe her ultimate goal, as she said before, is she does want to get a Formula One.
Of course. So now we have Amna Alkabasi. She raced in F1 Academy in 2023 and 2024, scoring 2 wins and finishing 6th in 2023 before returning to her 2024 season representing RB, Visa Cash App, Racing Bulls, V-Carb, whatever you want to call them.
Whatever name they had at the time.
Whatever makes you happy. So after F1 Academy, she moved into the Ligier European Series with Team Virage, racing alongside her sister Hamda. So her sister also races. If you watch F1 The Academy, they're actually in that series. Her little sister was with Red Bull Racing, and she was with RB at the time. It's an interesting storyline. So now in 2026, she is racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia with Team Jebsen and became the first female Arab driver selected by Porsche Talent Pool Asia. So, and she actually, if you go do some research on her career in general, she has a lot of like first female to participate or first Arab female to participate. And so she has a lot of milestones under her belt that are pretty inspiring for women in general. So you should go do some research on her.
Yeah. Last but not least, we have Nerea Marti. She raced in F1 Academy in 2023 and 2024. She finished 4th in the standings both times after scoring a pole, multiple podiums, and a race win in 2023. After F1 Academy, she continued across different areas of motorsport, including GT4 racing and Formula E work with Andretti. And now in 2026, she is connected to Team AIUIA in the E1 series and serving as an Andretti Formula E team ambassador, supporting simulator work and select E-Prix weekends. So the Team AIUIA in the E1 series, is that the...
Yep. That is the very first boat, all-electric boat racing series. And why that
Motorboats.
How I accidentally took that out of here, I did, but it was an accident. But yeah,
in our notes, yeah.
Yes.
But literally, she went from racing cars to racing boats.
So don't say F1 Academy. Listen, it's achieved its goal so far.
We're getting women into all areas of motorsport, including motorboats.
And I think that all of this to say, and we wanted to give different examples of like, some are continuing with the single seater, some are just getting into endurance, some are getting into like the Porsche Cup, however you say that. And I think that what's most important, we talked about at the top of the episode, it's just to make sure they're continuing within motorsport. And they all are, whether it's a boat, an open wheel car, a normal car, becoming a testing driver, like just being in the world at all, that's the goal. And so far, I think it's a good example that we can't just say, well, they're not in Formula 1 yet, or they're not in Formula 2 or Formula 3, it's not successful. That's the wrong frame of mind to have.
Mm-hmm.
So now the biggest question of all really is it working? It's not a magic fix, but I don't think I keep wanting to call it Formula 1 now. Formula 1 Academy. It shouldn't be judged whether it immediately is going to produce a Formula 1 driver. It's obviously not realistic whatsoever. I mean, really calling it F1 the Academy is just great marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to get people's attention and it's to get them to watch.
And it's to connect F1 Academy with F1 directly. It's all about it's marketing
Yeah.
essentially. And I don't think, and we've talked before about, I think realistically, it'll be 10 or 15 years before we see a female driver in Formula One.
Yeah.
Like as a full-time grid driver.
Yeah. I think, yeah, for sure. I agree. Really, the better question is it actually creating long-standing visibility, more opportunity, and a stronger pipeline for women in motorsport? And obviously it has. Like, after everything we've said, it's definitely improved the visibility, opportunity, and the fan awareness. Now we'd have to see if that's going to continue. I mean, we're only in our 4th season. We really can't judge what's a success and what's not. All we can say is, as of right now, it seems successful in its mission.
Mm-hmm.
The pathway still needs to be a little bit more clear. That's something that they have literally already talked about, where they're like, you know what, certain girls need another season and they will be given that starting in 2027.
They get an extra year in F1 Academy
to develop. So that in itself is also recognizing some girls need more development time before, so that way they're not just finishing and
they're like, what now?
Exactly. So,
and it is something that the F1 Academy is not satisfied with. And I think that's the most important thing is they're not fully satisfied with where they're at, and they're continuing to change and grow and develop as they recognize like what's working, what's not working, and as the needs of the drivers in their academy change.
Yeah. And I think something that's important to note is that every criticism you could have brought up about F1 Academy, it has in some way, shape, or form addressed it. I'm not saying it's fixed it, but it's addressed it, and it's attempting to bridge whatever gap that we've criticized. One thing I do think that F1 Academy needs to be stronger at, and we've had this conversation before, it is the storytelling aspect of it. I do think the F1 teams do a really good job at integrating those storylines into their race weekends when they're a part of it. But I do think that it's disappointing that they didn't do a second season of F1 The Academy.
And honestly, F1 Academy should do something on like their YouTube channel if they're not already.
Yeah, if they're not going to be able to get the backing from Netflix to do another series, they 100% following these personal journeys. I think they need to figure out how to continue to do that. And something else is...
Because is it F2?
F2
does something similar?
Yes, it's on F1 TV. It's called Chasing the Dream. And again, if you can't get F1 or F1 TV to sponsor that or Netflix, then figuring out a successful way to do that on your own. And I do know part of it was probably because the structure of F1 Academy is harder because they're not there for long periods of time. So you can't do it how you would do Drive to Survive. But that's not how F1 The Academy was, like the show on Netflix. That's something that I think they should readdress. And something else that I do think, as much as the social media stuff is great, I think one of the things that's hard is the teams that support F1 Academy. So we keep talking about a McLaren driver, a Red Bull driver. They're not on, as much as they're integrated in those race weekends with those F1 teams, they're actually on teams that are called High Tech, ART, Campos.
Prima.
So
Prima.
Rodin. Those are the actual teams they're on.
And it's the F1 teams they're just sponsoring
a driver in livery, but they're on certain teams. And those are the same teams that are sponsoring F2 and F3 and some other series. I think what would be a really smart thing to do is if you look at like the F1 accounts, like the F1 social media accounts, they're really able to highlight, like Ferrari can talk about Lewis and Charles and really cover that whole weekend. And it helps with the personality. I'm excited for the content. I think each F1 Academy team should highly consider creating an F1 Academy social media page, like a Rodin F1 Academy social media page. So that way across the whole weekend, because you can't expect the F1 Academy social media page to handle all 6 teams.
I think they can provide resources to the teams.
They can do exactly what F1 does.
Yeah.
Like the F1 social media, it's the big umbrella of it. Talk about the highlights, and they do that. But if you really want to kind of push even though the drivers are visible, I do still think that's what's lacking is me being able to get to know them even more. And I think the best way you can do that is to let each F1 Academy team, they need to have their own F1 Academy social media, and they need to treat that social media the exact same way the F1 teams treat theirs.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I think they should do. I don't know why they're already not doing that. It seems like that would be a pretty easy step, because I think you can't make it too convoluted where you have, it's nice to see Mercedes, now the F1 or the Mercedes driver is Peyton Westcott. But at the same time, it is F1 Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
They can support her, but at the end of the day, they can't cover her whole weekend the same way they're going to cover Kimi and George.
Yeah.
And I just think that there needs to be if you really want to try to help with the visibility side on social media, having a place where we can go follow these teams the exact same way we follow the F1 teams is really going to help with that side of becoming more personal with the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, they do have, like, I'm looking at, like, Road and Motorsport, for example. They do have a Road and Motorsport Instagram page, and they do cover F1 Academy, but it's not, and they cover it, but in conjunction with, like, the other motorsport series that they do, so it's all on the same page, which is fine, but you're not getting, like, these extensive...
But you're still dealing with it being very convoluted, and if I just want to follow a page that's about F1 Academy, that just seems like the next logical step for these teams to take. And so really it's more like that's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
And I do think it would be nice, especially for, like, we're a very small podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All the research is done by one of us. And like, I mean, like, either one of us is doing it.
Only one of us cares. No, it's primarily Jessica. She does all of the what is it called? Not footwork. You do the...
Yes.
Is that what
I'm
it
kidding.
is?
No, I don't know.
The expression? You do the...
I don't know.
Most of it. All of it.
But my point is that, like...
I'm just here to smile.
Some of, like, it can be difficult to find information on these drivers. So we we touched upon the website thing earlier. So just saying... not a lot of podcasts are covering F1 Academy. We've made it a mission to, and it would be so nice if the girls' websites were really up and running. So when we're trying to get background, trying to really do research, trying to find it so we can help promote them, that would be great. So, I mean, other than that, I think they're doing a great job. But those are, like, my main three, and they seem kind of tiny anyway.
Yeah.
So we have one more section, and then we're going to let you guys go.
Yeah. So we talked about what F1 Academy is, how it started, how it's going, where it is now, why it was created, and really the thing that it's trying to do, and it's putting all its effort into doing, is what we've talked about, these pathways, right, for female drivers. Not just getting to F1 Academy is like a goal for younger female drivers to have. And then F1 Academy is trying to help them create pathways into other areas of motorsport beyond F1 Academy to further their careers. And not only is it doing that, but it's also establishing, like, routes before drivers even get to F1 Academy. Yeah. So it's investing in and exploring and kind of driving more attention to and funding to ways to even just reach F1 Academy. So we've got things like the Discover Your Drive program, which introduces more girls and young women to motorsport through karting, education, and career pathways. And then we've got the karting and entry-level programs, which helps grow the talent pool before drivers ever reach cars, which is so important. I mean, the F1 Academy, like, actively goes out to karting tracks to scout out young female talent, and they're constantly evaluating and on the lookout for the next, young female driver that they can try and recruit into the program.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Discover Your Drive thing. I mean, they have the, like, all-female Discover Your Drive, because, I mean, they're just, the fact that they're trying to create karting pathways so that can lead them into, like, the single-seater aspect is, like, that's so huge and that's going to contribute to, like, the longevity of the series.
Yeah. Overall. I mean, and again, it's just one of those things where it can be so difficult for a young, you're a young female karter doing go-karts. Where do you go after that? Okay, there's F1 Academy, but even before you get to thinking about F1 Academy, it's like, well, what do I need to do? How do I need to grow and develop? And what steps do I need to take to reach F1 Academy? And F1 Academy is like, here you go. Here's what you can do.
Exactly. That there's like, here's a karting program you could take part of that, you know, is under our microscope. Like it's just giving them just a more structured way to understand how to even make it to F1 Academy if that's what their goal is.
One other thing that F1 Academy does is their wildcard entry. So, you know, they have 6 teams, 3 drivers on each team. Well, one of the teams has what they call a wildcard entry seat. So they have 2 permanent grid drivers. Their third driver rotates every round, and it's their wildcard entry. So they pick some other driver, and they're just there for that one weekend to compete.
Yeah.
And so it gives, and oftentimes it is a local driver from wherever they're having the race at. So if they're having the race in, you know, Austin, Texas, then it'll be a driver from the US. Or if they're doing a race in, they did one in like China last year, it was a Chinese driver. So it's an opportunity it gives young emerging drivers a chance to experience an F1 Academy weekend without already having a full-time seat.
Yeah.
I think it's a great option. I think
100%.
it's a great thing. And we've seen, and we've talked about before, how the oftentimes the wild card entries, like the next season or 2, within 1 or 2 seasons, they eventually will graduate to a full-time seat in F1 Academy.
Oh yeah, that conversion ratio is high.
It's pretty high. And then F1 Academy also does rookie testing, so it creates more chances for young drivers to be evaluated by teams. And then they have started doing data and performance profiling, which is a huge component of them trying to evaluate not only their own success within trying to help female drivers, but it helps them identify areas in which they can grow and how they can better help their young athletes. But then also it helps them identify patterns. So if you can track how a female driver goes from karting, how they get into F1 Academy, how they perform, and then what they go on to do afterward, if they can track that data over a long period of time, they can eventually develop like these profiles of like, okay, this is what we have seen statistically be the most successful pathway for these types of drivers. And then you can also do performance profiling based on the type of driver that they are, or the type of career that they want to have, or the type of motorsport they're interested in getting into. Like, it's a critical component of, again, longevity of the series. That gathering that data and that performance profiling is it's a sign of an investment in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just of the series, but of female drivers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then we have the F1 team support. So, you know, that gives the drivers more visibility, stronger branding, and a closer connection to the F1 ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah. Basically, they do a bunch of stuff outside. I think that's like what's important is that stuff doesn't always get a lot of attention, but they do so much stuff outside of race weekends to try and actually make sure that this is going to work and that it continues, and that it has longevity. And that is about our deep dive, really. Yeah. And so for us, why I think everybody should be watching F1 Academy, it's not just to go out there, like, it's not out of obligation, like, because you feel like you have to or whatever. I mean, it's interesting because it's competitive. The driver stories are actually interesting if you just take the time to know them. You get to follow them while they build their careers. And another thing too, especially for people who are not happy with F1's regulations, who are complaining about all this technology, you couldn't have any less technology than you do in F1 Academy. If you want to see just racecraft, they don't even have DRS, dude. Like, it is bare bones racing. So if so many people are upset with F1, you've got a series that you can go watch where they barely have any technology. So just saying. I mean, F1 Academy overall, it's young, it's not perfect, but I think it's definitely made a lot of progress. I see it continuing to make progress, and I'm excited to continue to support it and talk about it. But a question that I thought would be interesting to pose to the audience, I think we already know what our opinions are, but it'll be interesting to hear what you all have to say, is, do you think it's fair to judge F1 Academy only on whether it produces a female Formula One driver, or should it be judged on how it expands women in the motorsport pipeline? And I think we've pretty much made our opinions very clear on that already. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So that wraps this up. And with that being said, please like, subscribe, comment. We love you. And you should go watch F1 The Academy on Netflix, and please support our girls because it deserves more attention. It's getting more attention, but it deserves even more.
Yeah. And just a reminder that we do F1 Academy coverage here on our channel. So during the season, every race weekend, we do a race recap for F1 Academy. We talk about how the girls did and how the races went, and we do some driver spotlights. And it's a different format than our F1 race reviews, but it's still interesting and entertaining and fun.
Yeah.
And so keep a lookout for that throughout the season. And then in addition to that, in addition to this video, we're also doing a driver and team sort of introduction for F1 Academy. So we're going to go through all the teams, all the drivers, their backgrounds, and what we can look forward to for this season.
Exactly. That'll be coming out. We'll have that to you because Montreal's coming up this weekend.
So before Montreal. And that way you'll get introduced to everybody and the teams, and you can, we'll have a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Refresher on what happened in the first F1 Academy round, because I feel it's been since China. So it's been like a long time since we've seen our girls. So with that being said, we will talk at you next time. Bye.